Violets are blue, roses are red. Now you can get Warden in retail instead. Here's your look at new NECA toys. My Bloody Valentine Retro Cloth, the minor retail version. A decades-old folktale surrounding a deranged murderer killing those who celebrate Valentine's Day turns out to be true to legend when a group defies the killer's order and people start turning up dead. Figured before we actually did open up the packaging for the retail release Retro Cloth Harry Warden, we would compare the packaging. While the figures and the accessories inside appear to be identical, it is, after all, the packaging that does change. This is, of course, the retail release that we are about to have a look at in this review. And this, next to it, is the original Scream Factory release that came packed along with the Steelbook edition of the movie, the original 80s movie. Packaging, as you can see, gets drastically changed here, and still, while the figures and the accessories are all the same inside, definitely there's mileage to be made here by, even if you had already picked up the original exclusive Harry Warden figure, to still get the retail release, if anything, just to keep it in this glorious looking packaging that NECA have incorporated with the figure. The original packaging, the original box that Harry Warden would have been contained inside, as you can see, does have the image of Harry Warden or the miner down below here. It does have some blood trail down the side of the box with My Bloody Valentine with the picture of the Retro Cloth figure on the bottom. And then, of course, you've got a detailed image of the figure on the back with some bloodied hearts and a read-up. The neat thing about the newer packaging, and actually one thing I did want to say about the packaging here, I really do wish that NECA Toys, when it comes to their retail releases, or just across the board, any of their Retro Cloth figures, I've currently got myself a little bit of styrofoam on the bottom. If they would just incorporate a little lip, just a little molded piece of additional plastic down below here, especially if you're somebody that likes to collect these figures and keep them still sealed in their packaging, it really becomes difficult actually to put these on a shelf. The ones that I do still have sealed, because I have picked up a couple of duplicate figures over the years, I end up having to put like a little supporting thing underneath them, just because like without that, the packaging is going to be falling over. So NECA, if you get the chance, I definitely would say mold an additional bit of plastic just on the bottom of the packaging so that you could actually have these standing upright and not have the packaging leaning forward. Though, getting a closer look at the packaging for the new retail release Harry Warden, you get yourself some glorious looking artwork. I have, for the ones that I have opened up at least, kept all of the artwork for the inside clamshell. The packaging artwork is just too good to throw out. And we're going to get a closer look at this when we actually get this opened up. Again, you've got the same figure, the same accessories. Nothing has changed there. On the back, though, of the packaging, you have different images of the miner, of course, Harry Warden. You've got My Bloody Valentine, which, interestingly enough, they use the different fonts here. One font, I think, was more so used in the poster. The other font was more so used in the VHS tape. The read-up, though, is identical to one another. It happens to be the same read-up I did at the very beginning of this review. So while that doesn't change at all, certainly, though, the packaging does change. To the point where, even though I will be opening this up and, of course, getting a better gander at the figure in the review here, I am probably inclined to pick up a second one of these because I think, again, like the artwork that they use for the packaging itself is just way too good, I think, to open up. Obviously, though, for the sake of this review, I did have to open up the packaging so we could get a closer look at the miner. I will, though, show you in a second that you can open it technically to the point where you still will be able to reseal it somewhat. We're going to go ahead now and measure off to see how tall the miner stands. And as well, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide the sample of the retail release miner that we could have a look at in this review. The miner is 8¼ inches in height, or he's about 21 centimeters tall. Sliding then over the retail release miner, and we can bring in once again the Scream Factory release miner, you will see that they are identical to one another. If anything, I could see that there are some slight tweaks, ever so slight tweaks, that they've done to the paint. We'll talk more about that in a second, but they are, yes, identical figures to one another, which really isn't that disappointing either. If you do decide you did want to open these up and have them on display, you could technically have one miner depicted from the original 81 film, and then you can have one from the later 2000s remake, and technically have two miners on display. But yeah, the figures are identical to one another, and they also share identical accessories too. Sorry, I keep postponing this review, but I did want to bring back in the clamshell case that contained the miner inside. What I did want to show you, though, is there is a way to technically open this up. And though you won't do the greatest of jobs keeping everything still intact, if you detach these little connecting points that are sort of welded together, you can pry it open well enough to gain access to both the figure and the artwork inside. And then these somewhat close back up. There may be a way technically to heat these up and maybe even soften the plastic slightly so you'd be able to pry this open without actually cracking the plastic on the back. I, though, have done this in a couple of times before just to allow myself the chance to then open the figures up, have a look at them in the review, and some of the cases put them back in their packaging. By the way, though, here's the artwork for the new My Bloody Valentine retail release, Harry Warden or Miner. Really nice looking artwork, though. Really nice looking artwork. You can see, of course, there's the miner holding the heart in hand. A hand, speaking of which, sticking out from the box of chocolates. And you've got the little mining village in the back there, or the actual mine area in the back. And you've got Saturday, February 14th, sort of blowing in the wind. And, of course, there's the rest of the read-up on the back of the packaging. On to now the figure's accessories. Finally, I know, finally. Let's get a closer look. First of all, you get yourself a box of chocolates. They're not always just chocolates, though. You have to sometimes open them up and check them out inside. Or sometimes, unfortunately, you do have to read the clues, like in Valentine, to realize you're eating yourself maggots. But anyways, you can open up the box of chocolates, and revealed inside is not a beating heart no longer, but at least it is a heart, and quite bloodied as well. Just to show you a comparison, though, here's the original box of chocolates that came with the Scream Factory release. And we're going to do our best. I'm going to do my best. The person behind the camera is going to do his best to show you guys the differences between them. Not much different. No, not really. This one seems a little lighter, but I would hate to be doing this in the entire review just to keep looking at them and seeing if there's any differences. I don't really think there is, though. If anything, any bit of color difference, like this one here, you see, has a little more pink on the side. I would think it's just more to the mileage of whoever's painting these. I don't think that specifically this one's going to be always looking like this, and, you know, you get the idea. But the original box of chocolates also did open up. Let's compare heart to heart. Have a heart to heart, if you will. I am here all day. You can see, yeah, the differences in hearts. Maybe if this one has slightly more coagulated. It's a little bit darker in burgundy color. The original heart more lighter in red. That seems to be the only difference that I can see between the two boxes of chocolates. We'll put the lids back on quickly. Nothing turns me off of chocolates more so than having a bloodied heart inside. Oh, and then fruit-filled chocolates. Cherries and oranges and stuff, man, that turns me right off of chocolates as well. Having a look at the other thing he comes included with. He comes with the bolt gun, nail gun, which he actually uses to kill Hollis in the original film. This is the same one, in fact, yes, repeating once again, same one that came in with the original one. The other one, the original one, does seem a little bit more vibrant in colors. The silver seems sharper. Maybe, again, it's my eyes maybe playing tricks on me. It does seem like it's a little bit softer here on the newer gun. Again, both of them do fit into his hand. The figure also comes included with a knife. Let's go ahead and grab then the knife that came included with the original release. Yeah, about the same, you would say. Handles appear to be identical to one another. And then the blades themselves, while not covered at all in blood, it seems like the silver is somewhat similar to one another. And then, of course, he gets himself the pickaxe. Good old miner couldn't be a miner without his pickaxe. And then this is the original pickaxe. Maybe you could say the new retail release gets afforded a little bit of additional silver brushing there on the end head of the pickaxe. Other than that, it looks like they're pretty much identical to one another. Those are the accessories that come included with the figure, and of course, any one of them can be held in both his hands. So, for example, you take yourself the bolt gun. That can slide into one of his hands. Perhaps a little too excessive. You can then take yourself the pickaxe and slide it into his other hand, literally on the other hand. The plastic, by the way, on both the hands seems soft enough as well that you can actually pry the fingers pretty good away from the palm and fit both the accessories into his hand. Maybe what I may end up doing is, now that I've actually opened up both of these, display one on my shelf, because the other one I did put away. I don't tend to put them out until like Valentine's Day time. Maybe I will display one with the nail gun and then display the other one with the pickaxe. I don't know. You'll have to see when you come to my house. Everybody's invited. Everybody's invited. So let's get a closer look at now the two different miners. We, of course, want to keep these things consistent to one another. This one here, the one to the right, is the one that's the retail release. The one, though, to the left is the original Scream Factory release. You can see very minor changes. Oh, I see what I did there as well. I am on a roll today. You see, yes, there are some minor changes. The original one seems a little cleaner in the black, both in the gas mask as well as the actual miner's helmet. Whereas this one, the one now on to the right, the retail release seems like it's got a little more brushing of brown on the top of the helmet. You see that? Maybe it's just, again, my eyes playing tricks on me. The masks and the placement of the blood. Seems like there's a little more generous blood splattered across the front of the mask on the original release, and a little tamer on the miner here, on the retail version. But again, that's just to the person that's splattering the blood. That person could just be more generous that day and say, you know what? This miner needs a little bit more blood than the miner who got it the day before. Costumes are also going to be very similar. Again, if I was to look at these and try to find, somebody tells me, like, you have to find the differences between the two. I would say maybe, if anything, also that the coveralls that he's wearing seems a little bit more of a bluish color on this one that I'm tapping versus this one here that's a slightly darker shade. Gloves also seem to be identical. The belt's also the same. And both the breathing apparatus on the side as well as the battery pack on the back, not that much difference, although the original Scream Factory has what almost seems to be a little bit more rusting on that somewhat happy-looking robot face. You can see he's not, well, he is about the same level of happiness, but he doesn't have the same level of rust. Again, it's possible that mileage may vary. Boots themselves don't change too much. Again, you're probably going to be getting that pretty much the same type of boot when you're looking at both of them. So, like I said, that was just very minor differences between the two figures. I'm going to put that to the side and get a closer look now at Harry Warden, the retail release. And while we certainly have covered off this territory before, I don't suspect we're going to be unearthing anything new here by looking at the new miner here. Detailing on this guy is just as good as the original. It does still have, the problem of the wire. So the wire connects to the top of the actual lantern on the top of his helmet, and it runs all the way down the side. It runs through this little looplet here and continues on its merry little way until it attaches to the back of the battery pack. Why I do say that, though, is when it comes to rotating the figure's head, just be careful, because of course if you're going to pull it too far to the extreme, even though they did a lot for enough leeway, that could tug and break by accident. So just be careful of that. Again, he's a very thin-looking character. He's not maybe as thick as maybe Michael Myers. Michael Myers, for example, would have had a little more baggier of a pair of coveralls. The coveralls, by the way, are Velcroed, so you can open them up completely around the front here, and then the double belt is wrapped around the front of his waist. Nice sculpt on the gloves, and again, equally nice sculpting on the boots there as well. I guess really it's not territory that they have to cover anymore, even though they've now done 281 Valentine's, well, not Valentine's, My Bloody Valentine miner. I don't suspect they have to really do the remake miner. I mean, we're covering off enough of the territory that if, again, you did pick up both of these, have one on display as the 2000s remake, and then have the other one on display as the 81 original. I still prefer the 81 original myself. Looking, though, at the articulation at now the new retail release miner, it's going to be the same. So the head does have a ball joint. So yeah, it can look up, it can look down, and rocking it back and forth. That's giving you a good, really interesting look. You know, though, I really wish one thing, just before we I'm interrupting myself just for a second. I wish that they had actually gone in there and painted the top. My guess is why they've made it silver like this is so that while the light is hitting it, if you have it hitting it just the right way, it does look like it's lit. Still, though, that being said, it would have been nice if they actually had gone in there and painted a little bit of yellow in there as well, to really give it that sense that it's illuminated. Anyways, the arms do comfortably come out at full 90-degree angle bend. You can take then the arms and rotate them all the way around. Now, the thing about with any of these retrocloth figures, because of course you got fabric to contend with on the tops of the shoulders, rotating the arms, there's mileage there. There's only so much you can actually do. Rotating it too far, you're going to start twisting and wrapping the fabric around the shoulders. So while you can possibly, in theory, rotate these all the way around, you're really not going to want to anyways. First of all, you can't do that on a human body. And second of all, you're only going to be tightening up the joint right here, and that's not good for anybody. A rotation, though, in the bicep area, figure does have, or only seems to be a single hinge on the elbow. Hands also rotate again back and forth. Now, the glove, the hand is part of the glove. So while you are rotating the hand, the rest of the glove is going to go along for the ride as well. The upper torso is on a ball joint. The legs split out, so you can bring the legs forward, bring the legs also back. There's a swivel at the top of the thigh, a single hinge, what seems to be on the knee. And then when it comes to the foot, because at least the bottom of the foot is separate from the top of the boots, you can hinge the feet back and forth this way, and is a very nice, generous ankle pivot there as well. Again, a great looking figure. This, first of all, I'm really happy that NECA Toys did re-release this guy. So those that didn't get the chance to get the Miner the first time around with the Scream Factory exclusive, did get the chance to get the Miner again, or did get the chance a second time to grab the Miner if they didn't get the first time around. NECA's been pretty good, actually, when it comes to re-releasing retro cloth figures. There's only really a few that haven't, I think, gotten a retail release. One does stand out to my mind is Ricky Caldwell. While we did get ourselves Billy Chapman a retail release, we never have yet to gotten ourselves a Ricky Caldwell. I hope that will certainly change for those that didn't get the chance to get the exclusive that went along with the Scream Factory release. But at least in this opportunity, being that I feel like Harry Warden's going to be a little bit more of a popular character than Ricky Caldwell, no offense to Ricky Caldwell, I am really glad that they did retail release this guy so that those that did miss their chance to get this guy with the pairing of the Scream Factory Deluxe Steelbook edition of the 81 Classic, then still got the chance to pick this guy up in a retail release. And really, when you're looking at them again, as we did in certainly this review, while one does seem slightly taller than one another, I think it's just more so my eyes. I really got to get my eyes looked at. They are seeming to be identical to one another, sharing very similar, if not exact, accessories to one another as well. For me, nothing beats the original 1981 classic My Bloody Valentine. It is my go-to holiday horror that I must watch every single year. The benefit, though, of the Valentine's horror films, there's not many of them. Whereas the Halloweens, you gotta go, there's a marathon of watching all of the Halloween movies. And equally so, Silent Night, Deadly Nights. If you count the remake, which isn't really a remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, there's 6 of them. And some of them, believe you me, are a struggle to get through. My Bloody Valentine, the charm of the movie is the fact that there was only one of them ever made. There was, yes, of course, the remake, and then there was always the talks of a sequel of both the original 80s version and the remake, but never came to fruition. Valentine's Day, and you think about it, doesn't really get a lot of love in the horror department. Yeah, there's the My Bloody Valentines. There's also Valentine, which sort of is good if you like the Scream type of genre horror films. And to a lesser extent, there's also X-Ray, which was also known as Hospital Massacre. The beauty, though, of My Bloody Valentine, the original, though, is it sticks true to the idea of celebrating the holiday. When you really think about it, though, how many other horror films that are supposed to be advertising the holiday actually do celebrate it? Even the remake of My Bloody Valentine just brushes over gently the idea that this is all taking place at Valentine's Day. Even Valentine kind of just rushes through the concept of it's Valentine's Day. I feel My Bloody Valentine checks the boxes of, first of all, being a loyal to its holiday horror film. It has likable characters, equally cool deaths. Let's not forget the girl that gets her head stuck into the shower head. And then if you got a pretty interesting looking killer that has the breathing apparatus that sounds like Darth Vader. That's a horrible impression of Darth Vader. Yes, My Bloody Valentine checks off the boxes to make a perfect holiday horror film. I would challenge anybody to argue the otherwise. Yeah, there's always the Halloweens, but I feel like My Bloody Valentine, being faithful to the holiday itself, dare I say, does the better job than Halloween. Of course, when it came to the release of a My Bloody Valentine retro cloth miner, there was only the one opportunity to get him initially, and that was, of course, to pre-order it along with the Steelbook edition of the original 80s classic through Scream Factory. Of course, once that did sell out, the higher prices started to skyrocket on the miner. So if you did have the chance and see this guy online, you probably were seeing him at a higher price. Thank you for, of course, NECA coming in and saving the day. NECA did eventually re-release this guy now in a retail release. And as you can certainly see in this long-winded review, covering off all the details as best as I can, the figures and the accessories are pretty much identical to one another. So if you did get the chance to get this one, it's not like you're feeling like you're missing out on getting the original one. Whereas when we initially looked at the retro cloth Chucky, the Chucky had 2 very different looks. The good guy doll for the Scream Factory release, and then the more maniac doll look when it came to this retail release. Not the case here of Harry Warden, the miner. You get the exact same figure. So if you didn't get the chance to get that initial one, you're still fine. You're getting now at least the retail release with all the bells and the whistles and all the bloody hearts contained inside. I gotta say, I don't like chocolate covered fruits. It's disgusting. Big thank you, though, to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide this sample of the retail release of the miner. We're not really calling him the Harry Warden. I mean, in both the cases, I'm not going to spoil either one of the films. it's more so the minor. But a big thank you, though, nonetheless, to the folks over at NECA Toys that did provide the sample that we could have a look at in this review. Did you get the chance to get this one, or do you still have the original Scream Factory release? Let me know down below in the comment section. And for your video question for today, what's your favorite holiday horror film? Wonder how many people are actually going to say New Year's Evil. Evil. But let me know down below in the comment section what your favorite holiday horror film is. If it's a Halloween or a Silent Night, Deadly Night, let me know which exact title, which of the franchise you prefer the most. Of course, always love reading your comments down below. If you are new, by the way, to this channel, you're enjoying the content that you're seeing, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below, turn on the bell notification, and keep peepers peeled. While we have wrapped up the reviews here of the My Bloody Valentine minor, there's definitely going to be a lot more NECA reviews lined up and coming your way. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.